Andrew Golden of the Washington Post wrote a mind-boggling story about this Nationals offense in the month of May. Let me tell you what needs to happen.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as the show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And of course, later on in today's show, we have a preview coming up of the Seattle Mariners series. And of course, with this offensive woes, it's not going to get much better against a very good starting pitching staff. The Nationals, they don't really have all too much going for them as far as offense goes. But the Mariners, their pitching staff, it's loaded. So we'll preview that series. And if you might tell, the Nats could be in trouble if the offense does not wake up soon enough. It is a Friday, so of course that second segment is a Nationals prospect stock report. There are a couple big names on this list. Some are doing well, some not doing all too well. But also a new name that I think a lot of people will have to kind of keep their eye on moving forward, as this guy, a right-handed pitcher, has been brilliant down in high A Wilmington and, of course, double A Harrisburg as well, where all the Nationals' top prospects are outside of James Wood. You're going to want to keep an eye on the Harrisburg Senators and this pitcher moving forward. I'll tell you who that is in the second segment of today's show. But let's start off with discussing Andrew Golden of the Washington Post wrote a very telling piece in the Washington Post today. But before we get into it, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And guys, make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So let's get started with today's show. Again, Andrew Golden of the Washington Post wrote a nice little story about this Nationals offense so far and really the struggles that have been happening in the month of May. And I think this was a very eye-opening piece, as we all know the Nationals offense has been really poor. And again, no, not going to lead the witness here. We all know what's going wrong. The Nationals offense does not have any power whatsoever at this point. Andrew Golden pointed this out today. And again, I kind of knew that the woes were pretty damn bad, but 12 of the 19 games so far in May, the Nationals have had 3 runs or fewer. If you are going to have a solid pitching staff, which the Nationals so far, they've been really good. The National starters have pitched really well outside of Patrick Corbin. You would expect that to be okay, but not with this team and not with the opponents that you have gone up against as well. Because again, we talked about this. When you play the Baltimore Orioles, the Red Sox, the White Sox, the Phillies, the Twins, and now the Mariners, and then next up you have the Atlanta Braves in a 4-game series down in Atlanta. This is not going to come easy. And again, with this Nationals offense, this has been the talk around town right now. Because the Nats offense, we knew that it might be lacking a little bit of power, but now you have guys like Joey Gallo, who seamlessly have just lost all power potential in this lineup. Keibert Ruiz, someone we thought would take another step up this season, has seamlessly taken a step back. You have all these guys who are supposed to be big parts of this offense, and now at this point in time, they've just kind of gone missing in action. That is the big, overwhelming issue of this group. But even then, deeper in this story, Andrew Golden pointed out something that I haven't really even considered at this point, or I haven't even really saw up to this point. The Nationals' barrel rate as a team ranks at 5.6%, which is last in Major League Baseball. Now, barrel rate is not the end of the world. Obviously, teams go on all the time, and they can have a lot of runs without having a high barrel rate. But when you're last in Major League Baseball, and what a barrel rate really tells you is what their slugging is. That's kind of the adjacent kind of advanced analytic to look at when you're talking about slugging, which is also power. The Nationals, they are not getting the job done at the plate. And again, if you were to discuss a lot of different things and what is wrong with this team, what is the main issue of this ball club, it comes down to guys in runners in scoring position. As you saw them, they went 0 for 8 just the other night with runners in scoring position. The Nationals are not taking advantage of all the opportunities, but also you can think about it this way. The Nationals, who have been stealing bases more consistent than anybody across Major League Baseball up to this point, yeah, you stretch singles into doubles by stealing a base. You stretch a double into a triple by stealing a base. But that's not really sustainable. While it does help you, you still need guys to kind of go in there and have that power in order to hit guys in that you have not been able to see so far in the month of May. That has been a huge issue of this team since you traded away Juan Soto. Now, with that said, we do have a James Wood update coming up here in just a few minutes. There is someone down in AAA who is 6'7". He's an outfielder with an OPS above 1,000, ready to make his debut. His name is James Wood. That would help a ton in this Nationals lineup. Now, again, I do want to kind of remark this real quick. James Wood was pulled out of yesterday's ball game to a lower body injury. It doesn't seem all too serious at this point. We don't really know what exactly it is. But again, it doesn't seem all too serious. But a lot of people were talking about, could this be the time where James Wood makes his debut on a Friday night at Nationals Park against the Seattle Mariners? No, it's not going to be that at this point. But still, it is kind of a tell, in my opinion. The Nationals, you keep him down in AAA, and then gets a little banged up. So now it just feels as if his debut might be delayed just a little bit. But back into the power of this Nationals offense, or the lack thereof, rather. James Wood would be a massive step forward for this team. Because again, Joey Gallo was supposed to be that guy. Joey Meneses was going to be that guy, even though we all knew that wasn't going to happen. Keibert Ruiz was supposed to be that guy this year as well. Riley Adams started off to be a big power threat, has kind of gone cold in the month of May as well. Eddie Rosario, while he has taken a step up in the month of May, he's starting to show some power. It's really starting to turn his season around. Even then, in the biggest moments, the Nationals team has kind of just gone nowhere when it comes to power. I don't know what the fix is at this point. I really don't. But at this point in time, you can say one thing about this Nationals team. While they are scrappy, and you still feel like they're never really out of it because of the pitching staff and the way that they have performed so far in 2024, from the starters all the way through the bullpen, this offense is not going to cut it, especially if you think you can make a run, which we all know they're not going to be making a postseason run at this point in the time. But if you add a guy like Lane Thomas back, who led the team in home runs last year, if you add a James Wood here in the next month or so, maybe this offense does look a little bit different. Because again, Lane Thomas is supposed to be joining this team hopefully here pretty soon, as he dodged a big injury just a few weeks ago. But Lane Thomas, even then, he was off to a slow start. He was not hitting for power. He was stealing a ton of bases, which again helps his team wins. But we need Lane Thomas to kind of be that power bat. So once he comes back from the IL, which again should be momentarily soon, as tomorrow is his bobblehead day over at Nationals Park, you would expect for this Nationals team to maybe have a little bit more power. But at this point in time, that is what has killed this team from day one. And now in the month of May, when you see that the Nationals have gone 12-19 games with 3 or fewer runs in May, it just is kind of eye-opening. And then you see the barrel rate. You see that they lead the majors in the pop-up rate at 8.3% as well. You see all these different things, and that is why this Nationals offense has really just been lackluster so far in 2024. And again, stealing bases is great. Getting on base is also great. Having a high batting average is cool as well. But in 2024, in order to win ball games, you have to be able to hit for power, and the Nationals simply are not getting the job done in 2024. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, you can check us out over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as LO_Nationals. And while you're at it, make sure to search us up over on YouTube. Just search Locked On Nationals there, and that is where you'll find your latest Nationals content. And of course, next is a Nationals prospect stock report. And while you're checking that out, let me tell you guys about one of our favorites over at Ibotta. And guys, spring has sprung, and that means spring cleaning, whether that means stocking up on cleaning supplies or swapping out your winter clothes for new spring clothes. make sure you're using Ibotta and get real cash back with every purchase. Ibotta is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or the fancy dinner that you've been craving. And of course, you can join the over 50 million users and earn cash back every time you shop from over 2,700 brands and retailers, including all your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and much more. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONMLB. Now, let me tell you guys about some of our new friends over at Supply House. And guys, Supply House, get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is a reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product into info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Now we get into it with a Nationals prospect stock report, as of course, this is your latest individual performances for the Nationals prospects and some guys down in the minor leagues, some names you may know, but I will say there's one or even two names you may not know. Other than that, there are three big names who have made the Nats prospect stock report. So we will start off with 2023 second overall pick, Dylan Cruz. He is a stock up because over his last 8 games, Dylan Cruz is batting .345 with a .483 slug, and also in that time frame, only 4 strikeouts in his last 29 at-bats. I only bring up the strikeouts because in April, he was striking out way more than a lot of us ever thought he would. I always thought Dylan Cruz, and I still think he can be that guy who's going to walk a little bit more than he strikes out. Not at the rate that Juan Soto does. That's a special all-time kind of guy right there, but I think Dylan Cruz could be up there as far as his walk rate goes. He's very selective at the plate, but still, in April, he did not show that. As of right now, he's putting the ball in play. He's not hitting for crazy power at this point, but I think that will come. I think Dylan Cruz will start finding gaps as he's putting the ball in play more. And when you're a contact hitter in the way that he is, a 70-grade contact guy, Dylan Cruz is going to find the ball, and he's going to put the ball in play, hopefully every given at-bat, because this guy is a special hitter. He's a special overall hitter. Now that you see him, again, over his last 8 games, batting .345, having some power metrics as well, all signs are pointing to Dylan Cruz turning it around this May. And of course, I would not be surprised to see him moved up to AAA maybe within the next month or so. And again, you should not be rushing Dylan Cruz. This is still a young prospect coming out of LSU. Yes, he was killing the baseball. He was one of the best college hitters of all time, but still, you got to take your time with Dylan Cruz. There is no rush for him to get him up into the majors. I see the route that could kind of get him up to AAA is once James Wood gets the bump up to the majors, then Dylan Cruz will probably follow him to AAA, and then we'll be on Dylan Cruz watch for the remainder of the summer and when he can make his major league debut. But Dylan Cruz putting the ball in play, back on track, hitting over 300, has a high slugging percentage. That is what you want to see from the second overall pick and one of the top prospects in today's game. Stock down for one of the top prospects in the national system, Christian Vaquero. This has not been a good run for him. When he got sent up to Fredericksburg last year, he kind of got his feet wet. I was expecting big things from him. Vaquero has always kind of been my guy in a sense. I've read all the clippings from him. He's called the phenomenon. He's a big, burly guy, 19 years old. But so far, he's batting .194 in May. He's got 16 strikeouts in his last 36 at-bats. He is nearly striking out in half of his at-bats in the month of May. He's also only got 3 extra base hits, 1 home run, 2 doubles. But Christian Vaquero, this is kind of a concerning factor in my opinion. Because again, the Nationals have always had guys like Christian Vaquero in their system. They spent big on him just a handful of years ago, one of the top international prospects coming out. And ever since then, he really hasn't been able to hit for power. He hasn't really been able to get on base consistently. And it just really hasn't worked up to this point. Now, is it over for him? Absolutely not. This is still a 19-year-old kid. He is still very young. But Christian Vaquero, I would expect more at this time. Seeing him bat ninth in the Fredericksburg lineup, number one, that's a little frustrating in itself. Now, that Fredericksburg team is pretty good. They've got a lot of different guys who are on that lineup who, might be better hitters at this point. You got former first-round pick Elijah Green, who's in the middle of that lineup as well. But still, I would expect Vaquero to be your leadoff guy. If not your leadoff guy, your number 2 hitter or number 4, number 5, whatever it is. But seeing him bat ninth, I think that kind of goes to show you what they expect from him. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to be his mainstay batting position, but with that said, he's not putting the ball in play enough. He's striking out way too much. And again, that has been the concerning effort so far for Christian Vaquero in 2024. Now, here's the guy that you may not know, but Locked On Nationals, we have received some information about this guy. Not really, we have not. But I've had my eye on him, and now it's time to bring it up to the big leagues. Stock up for Brad Lord, right-handed pitcher. In 2022, he was an 18th round pick from USF. Last year included, had some really good numbers down in the minors. This year, he is starting to pick it up yet again. So far, in 7 starts in AA, he made 1 start in Wilmington, did really well for them. Then immediately got bumped up to Harrisburg Senators. Since then, he's got 7 starts in AA, a 2.15 ERA, 39 strikeouts, and 37 2/3 innings pitched, only 12 walks, and a 1.195 whip so far in AA. He has been someone that I've kind of been watching. Again, when you're an 18th round pick at a USF in your mid-20s, 24, 25 years old, you're going to get overlooked. That is kind of the expectation when it comes to this. But now Brad Lord has 7 starts under his belt in AA Harrisburg. He's with guys like Robert Hassel, Dylan Cruz. People are checking their box scores a lot, and you keep on seeing this guy, Brad Lord, go 4 or 5 innings pitched with 6 Ks and only 1 walk, and he's had 0 to 1 earned runs. I mean, this is going to be someone that at this point in time, going forward, I have my eye on him. I'm going to be checking the box score every 5 days to see what Brad Lord is doing. I'll be turning on to minor league baseball TV to see if he's pitching, because at this point in time, I don't really know all too much about the extracurricular stuff and how nasty his stuff is at this point, but the guy is getting results. And again, you can kind of go back into someone like Jake Irvin. If you were to keep track of his minor league career back in the day, it's kind of similar production. I'm not saying he's going to be Jake Irvin, because I think Jake Irvin is a real legit starter that this team has really developed. But Brad Lord is starting to really kind of turn into someone that you're going to keep your eye on moving forward. And again, someone like Jake Alou as well, who is also a later round pick. Someone like Amos Willingham, who is also a later round pick. Guys like that, they have turned out and had somewhat of successful careers, considering they already made it to the majors at one point. Maybe Brad Lord is just one of those guys who is a later round pick, but now makes an impact up in the majors at some point. Not this year, but again, the way that he's been pitching, he's got my attention. I think he should have yours as well. So shout out to Brad Lord. Stock up for him. It's been a damn good season for him so far in AA Harrisburg. Stock down for Jorgelis Mota. Tons of raw power this guy has. He's got a stock down only because of what he has been producing. When I was down at spring training, a lot of people were raving about Moton. You saw him. Everyone was like, who is that kid out there? He's like 18 years old, huge mountain of a man. And you look at him, you're like, that's a ball player right there. I thought it was Yohandy Morales at first, but it was actually Mota. But so far this season in rookie ball down in Florida, he's batting 140, a 157 OPP, a 280 slug, and a 437 OPS in 12 games so far. Now, last year, he hit for a ton of power, and again, just limited time in rookie ball. But Mota, I'm not all too concerned. He is going to be on your radar at some point once he starts to turn around, because again, I don't really see this guy in rookie ball for the entirety of the season. I could see him getting moved up to Fredericksburg probably within the next month or two if he continues, or if he really just starts to hit the baseball a little bit better and get more contact. But speaking of someone who's been hitting the ball and getting better contact, and has just been a very good, well-rounded player so far in 2024, stock up for Dalen Lyle. Dalen Lyle has an 802 OPS in Wilmington this year. You may be thinking, well, what does that matter? That's not all that great. Wilmington is considered one of the hardest offensive ballparks in all of baseball. You do not hit for power in that ballpark for whatever reason. Last year, you saw Brady House do it, and you saw James Wood do it, and now you're seeing Dalen Lyle do it. Other than that, this is considered to be one of the worst offensive parks in all of minor league baseball for whatever reason out there. It's just a little funky yard, and I can't explain it all too much. I haven't seen it in person for myself, but that is what all the people say in Wilmington, and that is what a lot of the minor league beat reporters say as well. Dalen Lyle, while the numbers aren't crazy impressive, if you consider that it's one of the hardest ballparks to hit in minor league baseball, the numbers that he is putting up is really good. And also his strikeout rate has gone down just a little bit. Even then, you can see a little bit of improvement on his chase rate and some other things as well. But if you kind of dive into all the deeper things that really mattered for Dalen Lyle, number one, he's healthy after having that scary injury down in spring training. He's back to being healthy. He's hitting the baseball real well in the month of May. And of course, he's hitting the ball well at Wilmington as well. That is an encouraging sight to see. You want to see Dalen Lyle do good things because, again, you know the raw potential that this guy has. He kind of came up onto the scene last year in Fredericksburg, and now he's doing the same in Wilmington this year with the Blue Rocks. So Dalen Lyle gets a stock up. Keep your eye on him moving forward as the Nationals, they may have stubbed their toe into another good outfielding prospect. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Next, let's preview this Mariners series. But of course, I got to tell you guys about our friends at FanDuel. And guys, it's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to make every playoff shot count. And while you're at that, you can maybe even check a little score for tonight, whether it's a playoff basketball game or even a playoff hockey game. You can do whatever you want with FanDuel, and they give you a shot to win a big prize of your own. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Again, visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So, remember in the first segment we were talking about the Nationals' offensive woes so far? Well, it's not going to get pretty against the Seattle Mariners because, in my opinion, this is one of the better young rotations in all of baseball. Yeah, I said it. Tonight, Friday night, you've got George Kirby on the bump. Tomorrow, Saturday's game, you have Logan Gilbert. And then on Sunday, you have Brian Wu. These three guys are all really good starting pitchers. Like, if we're just going to be honest, as of right now, if you put any of these three guys, they would be the best starting pitcher on this Nationals team sitting here today. Maybe Mackenzie Gore beats one of them, like Kirby or Gilbert, but I love all these three guys right here. When you go up against the Seattle Mariners team, one thing is going to scare you, and it's their starting pitching. And of course, with the way that the Nationals offense have been, being last in barrel percentage, not hitting for power, having scored 3 runs or fewer in their 12 last 19 games in May, you got to kind of think to yourself that this is going to be a very tough series for the Nationals to win. What will have to happen? Well, the starting pitching for the Nationals will have to come in huge this series. I don't really see all that happening too much, unfortunately, because again, the Nationals starting pitching has been solid still over the last few weeks, but the Nationals offense has not been able to pick up anything. They cannot go up against anybody at this point. Even if they were to face Patrick Corbin, I feel like Patrick Corbin would go in there and just dominate this offense really right now. So it's going to be a very tough series. You're going up against the Seattle Mariners. If you're going to the game tonight, I believe it's a firework night. And of course, tomorrow is a Lane Thomas bobblehead day. So should be a fun few days at the park. But can the Nationals wake up the bats? We'll have to see. And of course, you guys enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the Mariners series. And I'll catch you on the flip side. Have a good one.